Hi, I'm David Ramsden. I've been a local business owner for 25 years. Born and brought up in Bury, and now I live in Bolton. At the age of 18, I joined the Navy. And when I left, I came home believing I could conquer the world. So for the last 25 years, I've been a business owner, just like most of you, planning my world domination and preparing to spend my millions. It was great back then, because the one thing the Navy really did teach me was self-belief, and that I could be exactly what I wanted to be. The bit that wasn't in the training, though, was getting it wrong. And believe me, while I've had good times, I've also made a ton of mistakes. Mistakes are great, though, so long as we learn from them. And that's been my journey, really. Getting it right, getting it wrong, and learning along the way. My empire in Bolton is now totally focused on my passion, which is helping businesses be the very best they can be. But I couldn't do it alone, and I've got a great team around me, and we're in the amazing position of meeting and working with local business owners day in, day out. But I couldn't do any of this if it wasn't something I was really passionate about. It's great to be able to share what I've learned along the way and help others avoid some of the mistakes I made. But what really comes out is that business can be a really lonely place. And so often business owners get stuck in the daily grind and forget the real reason they're there in the first place. It's that doing it the way you've always done it thing. And I totally get that. As because business owners, we can forget to lift our heads from doing it, to actually see that the world's changed. We only need to say the word social media and you'll know exactly where I'm coming from. A book that I quote from all the time is It's All Changed by Nigel Bottrell, and I was lucky enough to be asked to write the foreword for this book last year, and have found it to be a really powerful tool for helping business owners challenge the way they run their business for success in the 21st century. I'm sure we all have friends or relatives who think that owning a business is a doddle. You can do what you want. Nobody tells you what to do. Take holidays when you want. And of course, you must be loaded. And they must really believe that. But we know the reality. And there are times when it can be a real struggle. Finance is tight. Cash flow unpredictable. Especially when you get that unexpected expense just after you've paid a big tax or VAT bill. And of course the guilt. Taking holidays is a great example. Feeling you need to be around at work, available for staff or customers. And sometimes it's as though you're the only one who's answerable to everybody. Family, employees, customers, and of course that ever so friendly bank manager. Recognize it? If you're in business, you know what I'm talking about. So why do we bother? Why put ourselves and our family through the stress, uncertainty, financial hardship, and sometimes even unhappiness? It's because we once had a why. Probably still have. But it all too often gets lost in the noise of doing business. I want to share some of my story with you. Just a few minutes, and I promise no long boring speeches, but I'd like to talk about the reason I do what I do and the things that motivate me in life. I'm going to talk about why. Just a small three-letter word, but with a big responsibility, because it's the entire reason you started your business in the first place. That dream that made you take the leap of faith that saw you become a business owner. It'll be different for each one of us, but there always will be a why. Perhaps more than most, I have a reason to understand the value of having a why. At the age of just 21, I found myself really considering my own mortality, writing a will and sending it to the bank manager for safekeeping just in case I didn't return home. After all, you wouldn't send your will home to your mum, would you? You see, as a young Royal Naval officer, I found myself 6,000 miles from home in a warship right on the front line of the Falklands conflict, where ships were being sunk and people dying on an almost daily basis. After the General Belgrano was sunk, then HMS Sheffield sunk by an Argentinian missile, I actually sat down and considered my chances of surviving if my ship HMS Plymouth was sunk in the freezing conditions of the South Atlantic Ocean. These days, joining the military, there's almost a foregone that you will be involved in active service of some kind. But back then, it had been over 30 years since the UK had been involved in armed conflict on any scale, other than Northern Ireland, of course, which seemed to go on and on in the background of our lives. But I vowed then that I'd always remember that life was for living and enjoying, because you never quite knew just what was round the corner. Just 5 years later, when I was 26, my brother died of leukemia. He was just 29. He'd never lived the life he wanted, and 12 months after that, my dad died, having taken early retirement to enjoy life with my mum a little more. So you see, I've had many reminders that life can be cruel, and when I started my first business nearly 25 years ago, my why was because I wanted to enjoy life, have the flexibility to work when I wanted, play when I wanted, and the opportunity to earn an uncapped income, make my own decisions, and be answerable to no one. My why boiled down to wanting financial freedom and the ability to treat my family to the finer things in life. Oh, and of course, I've always wanted to have a boat and live somewhere that I could enjoy it. Reality is, 25 years on, it hasn't all gone to plan. And as I mentioned earlier, I've had my share of highs and lows. But in recent years, I've found myself re-evaluating life, looking where I lost my way. Problem was, I'd tried to do it all on my own, in a business that I wasn't really passionate about and didn't really enjoy, and I'd forgotten the real reason I was there in the first place. Good news is, though, things are great now. I'm in an amazing and privileged position, doing something not only do I really enjoy, but I know makes a real difference to other business owners. We have a great life, and my goal isn't now to even think about retirement, but love the work that I do, enjoy life, and seeing a very bright future. So, what's your why? Have you thought about it recently? Do you still remember why you started to do what you do? A lot of people get stuck here, getting so hung up on the profitability and the need to make money, but it's often a lot deeper than that. If it is money, that's fine. Don't ever be ashamed of your why. Just know what it is. But if it's a burning desire to own a Ferrari, know what model it is, what colour it is, and when you want it by. Or perhaps it's to spend more time with the family. Then plan out how much time and when it's going to happen, and perhaps the things you'll do. As it's this clear thought around your why which makes sure that the things you do on a daily basis keep you moving towards your goal. I love this little quote. If you don't know what you're doing it for, then how do you know if what you're doing is moving you towards your end goal? Steve Jobs said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it." We've already said that business can be a lonely place, and the easiest way to go off track is to try to do it alone. You can end up feeling frustrated and disillusioned, and that's when you start making bad choices and taking advice from the wrong people. There's nothing wrong with a bit of sounding off about your business with a guy at the gym or your mate down the pub, but seriously, consider, what do they know about running a business? Of course they'll have an opinion and be ready to offer their advice, but what do they really know about your world? Enjoy time with friends by all means, but learn from the right teachers. Jim Rohn, an American entrepreneur, author and motivational speaker, said, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Just think about that one. I recently heard the story of Andrew Carnegie. He was once the richest man in the world. Born in Scotland, he sold his steelworks in America in 1901 for $229 million. In today's terms, his worth will be estimated at around $298 billion. Compare that to Bill Gates at around $56 billion or Warren Buffett at $52 billion. These are the guys we know about today. But Andrew Carnegie had a clear goal in his life, and his goal was to spend the first third of his life getting all the education he could, the second third making all the money he could, and the final third giving it away to worthwhile causes. And before he died in 1919, he donated $350 million to those causes. Now that's having a real clear why. But he didn't do it alone. He surrounded himself with very able people, all with the definitive purpose of manufacturing and marketing steel. Andrew Carnegie attributed his entire fortune to the power of what he called his mastermind. He commissioned a man called Napoleon Hill to carry out a study of the world's richest men and analyze how they achieved their wealth. His book, Think and Grow Rich, is an all-time bestseller in its field and serves as a handbook for success not only in business but also in life. Carnegie believed that no two minds ever came together without thereby creating a third, invisible, intangible force which may be likened to a third mind, the mastermind. So get around people who have something of value to share with you, Their impact will continue to have a significant effect on your life long after they've gone. So, you've heard my why. Now stop for a moment and think about your why. And be honest. Are you really working effectively towards it?